Go here with Jared Silva.
Surprise!
How you doing? Adrian will be here in just a minute, but in the meantime, we wanted to kick off the coverage of the semifinals here. For the semifinals, we have for you the matchup between Anthony Patronick and Alexander Mitteness, who Anthony is playing a mono red list, which, as we talked about a little bit yesterday, was a copy of a list reported to be Darwin Castle's list last week at the TCG Player event, but apparently the list was misreported, and it said that he was running 4 Grim Lavamancers, where actually it should be 4 Shocks, but apparently even the misreported list is good enough to top 4 this weekend. Anthony is actually doing a great job with it, and I've heard some interesting stories about the Lavamancers just attacking for 1, like not actually doing too much, because there are no fetch lands in the deck, which usually you see Grim Lavamancers, you think fetch lands.
If you're gonna power out a Grim Lavamancer, often you're removing a couple of fetch lands.
Right.
And Alexander Mitteness is playing a Valakut build. It's interesting to see Valakut coming back up near the top. For a few weeks, really didn't see very much of it.
Yeah.
2 decks in the top 8. It was around the top tables too when I was doing all of the archetyping.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know as soon as the bannings were announced, people flipped their lid about Primeval Titan and Valakut being the top deck.
They thought that it was going to come right back in. Definitely has not been the way that it's gone, but a very powerful strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's in the conversation. It's in the group of top decks for sure. I mean, and I think our top 8 this weekend kind of is a who's who of the metagame right now. We've got, the only deck missing, I think, is Blue-Black Control. We have Mono Red,
yep,
we have
and
Valakut, right?
And Blue-Black Control finished in 9th place with Philip Lee, so it's around, even though it was not able to actually get in.
It was a tiebreaker situation, yeah. So just looking over the top 8, we've had, well, because now we're in the top 4 obviously, but we had Red, we had Valakut, we had Twin Deck, and we have Call decks. So it's kind of a nice little look at the entire metagame for the most part, the top decks.
And Alexander opens up with a Raging Ravine.
And Tony with a Mountain into a Grim Lavamancer.
Not a whole lot that he can play other than Mountain on that turn 1.
Teetering Peaks on turn 1's never good. Oh, rarely.
And Alex is off to the races with a Rampant Growth. Going to try and out-accelerate going first, and the Rampant Growth on turn 2 puts him pretty far ahead on mana, but Tony's not playing the same game that he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Rampant Growth, another card that has kind of bolstered Valakut a little bit, coming back in M12. So there we have a Grim Lavamancer into the red zone, swinging for 1.
Yeah, Shock can't do that.
No. And there's a Kiln Fiend from Tony. Passes back to Alex.
Now it's interesting to see that Tony's list runs Kiln Fiend. A lot of mono red lists are running the Berserker.
Yeah, the Stormblood Berserker, the Bloodthirst one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's seems like a really powerful creature, but Darwin and therefore Tony has decided not necessary.
Yep. Alex plays one of the new F&M Cultivates, I believe.
Yeah.
And searches out a pair of mountains, one of them coming into play, putting him even further up on lands, and I would expect the other one to... Oh, nope. Terramorphic Expanse, or Evolving Wilds is going to come in.
Us old-timers call those cultivates Kodamas Reach.
Looks like a handful of land right now for Tony. Wide open, he can go ahead and just start hitting as much as he wants to. Looks like Alex is just pushing through to try and get up to active Valakut.
Yeah, so we have Teetering Peaks targeting Kiln Fiend, and then Galvanic Blast pumping the Kiln Fiend, and Tony going into the red zone.
Now, interestingly, in Tony's deck, Galvanic Blast is just Shock.
Yeah. And, we were saying, we were theorizing before we realized the situation, we thought, well, he's playing Galvanic Blast over Shock, the same way people play Stoic Rebuttal over Cancel, because, hey, maybe there's artifacts in there, and Game 2 they side in artifact removal or something. But, yeah, no, not a single artifact in the deck. It's funny, also, like, the reason that Darwin played 4 Shock and 4 Galvanic Blast was more about taking advantage of the Chandra's Phoenix interaction.
Yep.
So, there we have, that's a promo art Inferno Titan?
Yep. The Inferno Titan clears the board and puts Tony pretty far behind, I've got to think. All right, I'm going to hand over to Adrian Sullivan, joining Joey Pasco in the booth here at StarCityGames.com Open in Boston.
Thanks a lot, Jared.
Yep.
Hi, Adrian.
Hello, hello. Just
watching. You like red decks?
I do indeed. Watching the first turns of those games, I'm glad you mentioned just specifically how many shocks that Darwin ran, and the reasons that Tony ends up running not as many shocks.
Yeah.
From what I understand in talking to people that have been watching Tony, Grim Lavamancer has not been activated very much in this deck.
Yeah, and again, that's not a shock. Sorry, that's not that's not a surprise, because again, he's not running the fetch lands, so he can't actually fuel those Lavamancers as effectively.
Now, Tony, in order to be able to get out of this game, he's only got basically 2 turns to win. His hand looks like it's pretty full, but that is really not very much time.
Yeah, and the fact that his deck is so based around kind of pretty small beatdown creatures means that even playing some out here, it's not great, because he's just going to lose them as soon as that Inferno Titan swings.
Yeah, I think I see Goblin Guide, Teetering Peaks, and 2 burn spells.
Yeah, he's passing the turn back to Alex. Seems rough. Shaheen Sarani walking by the booth, going for 5 draft opens.
He wants to win the 5th draft open that he has attempted.
So that red Titan in the red zone, and
here's a green one, and Tony's like, well, I can't win now.
Definitely not. So yeah, Tony needs to capitalize on those early turns, and it's tough because Valakut, even though it seems like, well, they're not really getting going until turn 6. Like, no, it's not actually turn 6. It's at 6 mana, which can be much earlier. And,
very big difference.
So,
yeah, the sideboard, I have a feeling that this will be one of those matchups that Grim Lavamancer, even in a deck that is able to make use of Grim Lavamancer, is actually a pretty weak card in this matchup just in general. So it would be unsurprising to me if Grim Lavamancer just completely went away. And in return, what I'd expect you to see would be 2 active aggression in order to steal something like a Inferno Titan. So if you imagine there, when Tony had the 4 mountains, if he spent 4 life and cast active aggression on that Inferno Titan, he would outright kill his opponent right then.
Right, Goblin Guide, play Goblin Guide, steal the...
Doesn't even need to play anything. He just gets to steal it,
oh, you're right, never mind, that's right. He doesn't even
pump
need to.
for 1.
The pump, right, the fire breathing.
So those are definitely coming in. And then the question is, does he leave in 2 Grim Lavamancers? Or does he find room for the 3rd hero of Oxid Ridge in his sideboard, which is reasonable? Or perhaps try to fit in Volshock Refugee as a means to dodge Pyroclasm and or Slagstorm?
That's interesting, yeah. Taking a look on the other side, there's the Pyroclasms you just mentioned. We've got basically Pyroclasm, Obstinate Bailoff. You know, there's 6 cards that look like automatics.
Yeah, I think that those are cards that you're likely to see coming in. And Naturalize is an easy out as well, which leaves 4 more cards to be found.
I think I was looking at Avenger Zendikar as a potential cut, but seems like it's also great to just
I like Avenger. I think Avenger's just fine. I was thinking Oracle of Moldiah. Oracle at 4 often does a lot less work than an Obstinate Bailoff.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. So, as much as you want that Oracle, that explosiveness that Oracle can provide you right off the top of your deck, it doesn't tend to stick around nearly as often against a deck with so many shocks or burn spells.
Right. Now, personally, I know that in general, I actually really liked aggressive red decks against Valakut. If I was able to have 3 Mark of Mutiny style effects, or especially 4, with only 2, it really is a situation where you actually have to either get lucky to be able to kill them just off of your own creatures, or have to get lucky to get one of your 2 acts of aggression before you lose.
Yeah.
Now, stealing a Primeval Titan, for example, that is an easy 10 damage as well, because you can go teetering peaks from the Primeval Titan. So either one is worth 9 or 10 damage. Inferno can be worth more if you've got more lands, but...
Yeah, Act of Aggression, it just seems to be like the card that you want to have. It seems to me like you just need 3 mana and an Act of Aggression, and you're in pretty good shape against Valakut.
Tony starts out with the opening you want, which is a Goblin Guide on turn 1. Now, Alexander Mitteness lacks one of the most important weapons for this matchup. That's Lightning Bolt. Or even Burst Lightning.
Right, no interaction there, really.
Yeah, he's got Pyroclasm after board now. But without Lightning Bolt, that means that Tony can afford to take certain risks.
And yeah, he knows his opponent's deck list, and not only has he seen it, but he's probably he's had all night to look at it. So second mountain for Tony. Trying to figure out how best to capitalize on this window here before Alex can get going. And he decides Goblin Guide is the first step.
Gives the mountain to Alex. Kiln Fiend, put it down. Dare Alex to have the Pyroclasm. If he does not, expect a lot of damage to come through here. Now you can't, out of fear of Pyroclasm here, fail to develop your board. You have to develop the board.
And looking at Tony's hand, he seems to have the tools to recover from a Pyroclasm pretty nicely from the few flashes of cards I saw there. So not only is he forcing Alex to have a Pyroclasm, he's kind of all right with it. Yeah, and there it is. So Tony says, "Gotta have it. All right, you have it. Now I'm gonna redevelop my board." And I definitely see. Well, there's the Kiln Fiend. So no mountain, no land drop there, which is relevant because I know he has a 1-drop available. There's an Overgrown Battlements. That'll put the brakes on a little bit. Nice little speed bump, and that's something that Pat Cox did not run in his list last week when he won the standard portion.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Dismember as part of the... There we go.
Yeah,
that looks like a Dismember.
Dismember the battle.
4 life, okay, fine. My Kiln Fiend is now a little bigger.
Yeah.
And then Goblin Guide. He's going to attack for 6. And if he has a shock, I would just rock it there.
Yeah, I don't think he does. I think he's got Lavamancer, Hero of Oxid Ridge in hand. Yeah. And we're going to see Lavamancer.
I think you just drop it.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean,
again,
if Pyroclasm happens, the Grim Lavamancer does not do much work, so just let it happen. And once again, Alex Mitteness is at 10 life.
Yeah.
The magic number.
Yeah, if Tony can top deck an Act of Aggression, he's in great shape.
And he might even be in great shape right now.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, as far as
Baloth?
I feel very safe.
Oh,
that
Solemn.
is a Solemn. So
that is a disappointing card right now. All it'll take for Tony to win this is, I think, a single bolt makes him win the game. Because, it won't make him win the game. It'll knock Alex to 1. because he would be able to activate the Grim Lavamancer to kill the Solemn Simulacrum, bolt the face, and get 7 damage out of the bolt and the Kiln Fiend, and 2 out of the Goblin Guide. So a single bolt would knock Alex to 1.
Let's see what he's got. Yeah, I couldn't quite see what he drew.
I can't at all see what he drew.
Yeah.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan, joined here in the booth by Joey Pasco. Looks like a Hero of Oxid Ridge is joining Tony Patronick's side of the board. We're going to see a big attack here. 7 damage will come in after the block on the Hero of Oxid Ridge.
He is
Alex,
in with everything.
Alex Mitteness playing Valakut on the left, Tony Patronick playing Darwin Castle's red deck, but not exactly Darwin Castle's deck. It's the deck Darwin Castle played as misreported by the coverage at TCG Player. So this is a deck that won, a good portion of a $75,000 prize.
Yeah. Now Alex is really in rough shape right now if he can't Pyroclasm away that board.
Yeah, I mean,
Inferno Titan
would be helpful. A Obstinate Baloth would be pretty good. But I don't think he's windmill slamming any of that, so I think he...
Is this just going to be Battlements again? It's an
Explorer.
Explorer. Not even as good as a Battlements. But, that may have drawn him into one of the cards that he needs. If he has another forest and... No, there's a mountain. And are we...
There's a second land.
Mountain.
And he laid a mountain over a forest. He has the forest in his hand. So,
yes, there's 5 mana for Green Sun Zenith for what would likely be Obstinate Baloth here.
Now this puts him up to high enough life that now an attack from Tony is not particularly exciting. He can Grim Lavamancer Alex's face down to 5. And then an attack would eat the Kiln Fiend and do 2 more to knock Alex to 3.
Right, so basically negating the Baloth life gain, but not actually getting rid of the Baloth itself.
Again, active aggression would just end it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's what he drew. Assuming he's sitting there thinking about it, because unless he's expecting Pact of Negation from Alex.
Yeah, Pact of Negation is a good card.
It certainly is. I think it's going to be a big player in Modern, or at least it's going to show up.
Free Valakut into Alex's hands from the helpful Goblin Guide. There's a Valakut over here, pal.
So, into the red zone with the Goblin Guide and the Kiln Fiend. Alex trying to decide exactly which creature to block.
There's the right one.
Yeah. Alright, so this...
okay, Lightning Bolt means it's death for Alex either way.
Yeah. So he's at 4, takes 2, and then Lavamancer, yeah?
I believe that is the first time that I've heard of Tony Patronick's Grim Lavamancers being activated.
Oh, I just noticed what this does.
Yeah,
not even. It was a 1/1.
It's for those of you who are wondering, it's not about Tony not doing the right things with the Grim Lavamancer. It's just that because the deck does not run any fetch lands, Grim Lavamancer is decidedly weaker in this deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, it was not designed to have Grim Lavamancer in it, but that's why we don't see fetch lands in here. But because it was misrecorded, when Tony took it, he's like, Darwin Castle, he's a Hall of Famer, and he's a good deck designer, I'll take his deck.
Right.
Well, this is not exactly Darwin Castle's deck. Now, you said you'd had a trivia question last night, and then you said you had actually 2
Well, I had another
questions.
one in mind that was a rough one, but you said you had one as well. So
I did have one in mind. So actually, it's going to relate a little bit here to what we've talked about already, and what's been covered a little bit in this match.
Okay.
Anthony Patronick This is a trivia question that what you're going to do is if you tweet the answer to hashtag SCG Premium,
Yep.
you can get 6 months, or in Jacob Van Lunen terms, 2 trimesters of Star City Games Premium, where you can read the best Magic writing that I think is out there. And what you do, use the hashtag SCG Premium and be one of the people to answer the question. Anthony Patronick is playing Darwin Castle, Hall of Famer Darwin Castle's red deck.
From
And
the
he is
TCG player
yep,
event last
and he is playing Grim Lavamancer. What is the card that Darwin Castle actually played instead of Grim Lavamancer? He played a 1 casting cost spell.
Yeah.
It wasn't Grim Lavamancer. What card was it? Tweet your answer to hashtag SCG Premium, and if you're one of the lucky people who has the correct answer, you will be amongst those who might be selected for 6 free months of premium.
Yeah.
Now,
So, we've mentioned it plenty of times.
many
so
times.
As long as you've been paying attention, this should be an easy one.
Now, Tony Patronick here, he is a old school player from Team Academy, and I think probably the people that are the most well-known members of Team Academy would probably be Andy Stokinger, and Stokinger, of course, with a couple of Grand Prix top 8s to his name, as well as a dealer trader extraordinaire to his name, and one Joe Mouth Kambarakis, who, aside from being a very, very fun player, is also one of the more colorful players that ever played on the Pro Tour. Tony Patronick, once again, Valakut from Alex, and Tony lays the card, the turn 1 he needs, Goblin Guide. Turn 2 Forest from Alex. Rampant Growth. Now, one of the surprising best cards in this matchup for Tony is Kargan Dragonlord, because since Alex does not have Lightning Bolt,
Yeah.
if you lay a turn 3 Kargan Dragonlord and it's not killed, you will thereafter have an unkillable Kargan Dragonlord. Just pump it all the way up to level 4 on your turn 4, and the
Yeah.
game will usually end even if the Valakut player goes off.
So a second mountain for Tony, and
There's a Pyroclasm on top.
Goblin
Hey,
Guide.
buddy, there's a Pyroclasm on top of your library, just so you know.
Yeah. Goblin Guide in for 2, and shows both Alex and Tony a Pyroclasm on the top of Alex's deck, but Tony's
Tony's
not
like-
fearing the Pyroclasm.
No, he's like,
Yeah.
cast it, pal. Do it. And then we see the Clasm.
Yeah. Knew you had it. Just forcing you to use it, so.
2 mountains at least. It looks like maybe 3 mountains in
Yeah,
Tony's
I think
hand.
So too. Yeah, so he's got a lot of mana. There's another
Kiln
Kiln
Fiend.
A lot of mana for a red deck, anyway.
But particularly his version cut 1 land from Darwin's list in order to fit in 2 new spells. Five mana. Alex Mitteness spends 3 of them probably to cast a Cultivate.
Yes, that is an Eponym Cultivate.
You know, I don't know these alt art cards very well, but if you say that's a Cultivate, I'll believe you.
Some of them I know, some of them are a little rougher. As we saw yesterday with a lot of his promo Titans, I was
Right.
having a little trouble. Well, it was the Grave Titan, I think, that threw me off, because I recognized the other 2 Titans. For some strange reason, I didn't notice that one as a Grave Titan.
The first draft opens in about 15 minutes. If you haven't signed up and would like to get in, please make your way over to the main event stage now. I'll be more than happy to sign up.
And another Pyroclasm.
Didn't know he had 2 Pyroclasms.
Movie closing sentence. The draft opens in about 10 minutes. If you'd like to sign up,
And
it's an awesome time to do so.
Tony now with an opening here to resolve.
Hero of Oxid Ridge. And he does have an active aggression in his hand.
That would make me feel very safe if I were Tony right now. You know, you gotta feel pretty good when you have that in your hand against a deck that wants to play giant Titans.
You know, one of the things that's dangerous here is if Alex Mitteness drops down a Avenger of Zendikar, then the active aggression plan basically goes away.
Not so
However,
great.
the hero can negate that as an out.
Yeah.
At least for a short time. I mean, all it will take is one fetch land, and then you'd no longer have the hero as an out to an Avenger of Zendikar.
Right, but knowing he has the active aggression now, and Alex is at 12 life, it may only take a really... just giving Tony just a very small window, that may be all it takes for Tony to take the match.
Here we go.
So,
I think an Inferno Titan would be the card that Alex actually wants here. It's Primeval.
Primeval Titan. So... this...
I think he might go Mountain Valakut in order to... I think that'll be a 6th mountain if he does that.
Now, does this give Tony the opening to
there
win?
he is.
Okay, so
it does not give him...
he had the enough mountains. I didn't...
Yep. It only gives him the opening to win if he has on the top of his active aggression a burn spell.
Right.
One of his 16 burn spells. Any one of his 16 burn spells.
Yeah, because the what he can do is active aggression the Titan, search for 2 teetering peaks to pump the Titan to 10 power and swing in for 10. So any of those burn spells.
Or a Goblin Guide for that matter.
That's true.
Or a Teetering Peaks in his hand.
That's also true, yeah. So he's got a number of possibilities here. And he's working through them right now. I know he has Juro Grim Lavamancer, which, if it were the correct card...
if it were one of his shocks, instead of Grim Lavamancer, he literally would win.
Yeah. But I did hear that during the Swiss rounds yesterday, there were games that if it were the correct card, he wouldn't have won, and maybe he would not be sitting here. So it was not a Teetering Peaks he had. He did not have a Teetering Peaks available.
Now, interestingly, because Alex went and got I believe, only one Valakut, that does mean that Tony would survive one swing from the Primeval Titan unless Alex has more in his hand. Because it would take 4 life for him to cast active aggression if he wanted to pay it more cheaply, but he does have the extra red manas to be able to potentially have it only cost him 2 life. And in fact, he is going to have it cost him only 2 life. Active aggression.
So one thing to note about active aggression is it was sold out at the dealer booth yesterday. So you wonder, I don't know if this is the case here, but if there's a possibility that that Tony actually would have played more had he had the cards available.
That's an interesting question,
If
actually.
he couldn't get the cards. If they were sold out at the dealer booth, they were probably pretty rough to come across out on the floor as well.
That's going to be 10 damage to knock Alex to 2.
So even if Tony doesn't have the burn spell here,
He hands...
he has the Lavamancer, which represents the win next turn if Alex doesn't deal with it. So Alex is going to be forced to use a Valakut trigger to deal with that. Or Tony blocks and top decks burn, puts himself in a position to top deck one of his, many burn spells, as you mentioned.
So, I see only one Valakut in play. Explore.
Explore may change that.
Alex Mitteness at 2 life currently.
Why is Tony at 15? I know he active aggression, but
It's possible that he took 2 from the active aggression and perhaps 3 from a mountain from a Valakut.
Okay. That makes sense. I just didn't see that, actually.
I didn't see that either.
Yeah.
So attack will take Tony to 9.
And he does block. He has 1 card in hand.
Cultivate, I think...
It's a
it's Rampant Growth, pardon me. That's it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, just getting all those Valakuts. And it was a hero of Oxid Ridge, so it was...
Oh, look at him. He's like... Alex lets out a sigh of relief.
Well, at 2 life, it was so close. And again, if that Grim Lava Man